Good afternoon. Welcome back at the third edition of the Solventa tooling event. We of course hope everybody had a good lunch, and we hope everybody is ready for the next presentations. For those who are not familiar with the tooling event, or for those who have just joined us, every 2 years we host an event where we provide a platform to a selection of suppliers from EA tools listed in Gartner's Magic Quadrant. This morning we have seen presentations from Value Blue, BizDesign and Orbis, and the fourth presentation will be from EA Solutions. And in Gartner's Magic Quadrant, EA Solutions is listed as a visionary, so that of course makes us curious to the presentation. Questions can be asked through the Q&A in the top of your screen. Some presenters will answer the questions directly and others will wait till the end of the presentation. The presentation will be recorded and will later be uploaded to YouTube. And then I will now like to give the floor to Sarah Smith from EA Solutions.
Afternoon. Trying to share my screen, 1 second. Okay, so you should be able to see my presentation there. Is that right?
Yes, it's online.
Yes. Great. Okay. Okay. So thanks very much. Hopefully you're not all going to be asleep after a big lunch. Hopefully you went for a walk and got some fresh air instead. So my name's Sarah Smith. I work for Enterprise Architecture Solutions. I've been with them for around about 19-20 years, and we're the founder and the owner of the Essential project, which I'm going to talk you through today. So what is Essential? So we built Essential over sort of 15 years to meet our enterprise architecture consulting needs. So originally, EAS was an enterprise architecture consultancy. We were founded in 2000, and we found that we didn't, when we were doing our consulting engagements, there wasn't a tool that met our needs as architects. So we basically, over some time, built Essential. We launched it as an open source tool, first of all in 2009 or 10, and it was very well received. Our clients liked it. They asked other clients, they went to other clients when they moved jobs and wanted us to go there. So we then launched it as a commercial version in 2017. So that's in cloud or Docker. So you can have cloud or you can have on-premise a Docker version if you'd rather that. So that's kind of where we come from. So, Essential is a tool built by architects for architects. So we're all architects, really. That's what our background, and that's where the tools come from. As was said in the introduction, we were recognised as a visionary in Gartner's 2020 EA Tools Magic Quadrant, and we're also one of the top-rated tools on Gartner Peer Insights. So if you want to have a look at Peer Insights and the voice of the customer, you'll see us on there. So what you get with Essential is around about 130 out-of-the-box views to help you manage your enterprise architecture. The tool is very broad and very wide-ranging, and we wouldn't recommend, obviously, that you do everything all at once. So out of those 130, we wouldn't expect you to use them all at the beginning. So one of the important things is to focus on what you want to do. Make sure that you're going to only display the views, that you're going to populate and you're going to use. But there are over 130 available to you. We think it should be zero training, organisation-wide data capture. We think that's really important. So I'll show you when we go into the demo of the tool. I'll show you some of the ways that we capture and maintain data, or the people with the knowledge can do that, not as opposed to the EA team. And that should be, if you have the knowledge about an application or a technology product or a process, you should be able to do that without any training at all. We have a series of APIs, so you can integrate with Essential from other tools. So if you have data in ServiceNow or business process modeling tool or something like that, you can bring that into Essential and send data out depending on what your master source is. And Essential is used by organisations of all sizes. We've got really major, huge global clients, and we've also got universities and government agencies and those types of clients. So again, we think it should be available to everybody, whether you're global or whether you're small. we even have organisations that don't really have, an architecture team, as you'd say. They just have people picking up those different roles, and that's fine. And part of that is the transparent pricing. Essentially, as a low-cost tool, we think EA should be available to everybody. So therefore, we've set the cost at a price that everyone can, whether you're a big company or a small company, you can do that. And that's for unlimited users, unlimited EA data, and technical support is included in that. So our approach to enterprise architecture, we think our job as EA is to focus on the insight and opportunity. So we don't think we should be managing the data capture. That's not what we're there for. So we think everybody should be able to contribute to the enterprise architecture. So as I mentioned, the everyone's essential editors, we call them, are really important from our point of view in making sure that there's an easy to use way that everyone can contribute to the EA. They can maintain their own data. Importantly, Essential supports the discipline of EA, so anyone can contribute and benefit. You don't need to be a trained enterprise architect to get benefit from Essential. If you understand the space and you have a question that you want answered, then you should be able to use it. Our meta model is key. It's quite in depth, I would say. It's not a simplistic meta model, but that's really key in providing that structured way to capture data. The Essential meta model is an ontology, so it's sort of like modelling the real world. So again, it's quite obvious. Once you get to realise it, it's quite obvious how it works. And again, it makes it available to model your whole organisation really. Importantly, everyone should contribute, everyone should collaborate, and also insight from the tool should be actionable. So again, the meta model is part of that. You can capture data to a level that allows you to make decisions. It doesn't just point you in the right direction and then you've got to go away and do a bit more work. It does allow you to make decisions from the tool. And really, again, regardless of your maturity or size, Essential can help you do your job better, really. So we cover from the strategy through to sort of the integrated design catalogue. So I'll concentrate a bit on APM today and then look at some of the other areas that we capture as well. But you don't need to be a fully mature sort of EA organisation to get the most from Essential. In terms of the way, this is kind of a pictorial representation of the meta model, a simplistic sort of representation, but really, as I say, Essential is an ontology. So it has the relationships between all of the concepts in the meta model already predefined. So you will have different people will have different areas of knowledge, and this is about getting the people with the knowledge to be able to collaborate and to maintain that data. So you may have people that understand your business processes, they understand the teams that perform those processes, they understand where they're located, and they can capture and maintain that data. You'll have other people that understand the applications and the processes that it's supporting. They'll understand the information that application is storing and the data it's made up of, and maybe where that database is located and the quality of the data in it, for example. You might have other people that understand your technologies, maybe even where your server or your cloud deployments are located. So really, again, what we're saying here is the people with the knowledge capture the data they know about. The meta model enables it all to be joined together, and then it allows you to do these things down the side, like understand your risk or your cost or the value that your applications or your processes are bringing you, your strategy, your security, those sorts of things. You can then look at different perspectives of the data that you've captured to enable you to understand those things and make those decisions. Okay, so in terms of what Essential is, this is what we think of Essential. This is the ecosystem, if you like. So in the middle here, you can, as I said earlier, you can have cloud or Docker. So if you're an organisation that isn't allowed maybe to have to use the cloud, then you can have it on Docker in your environment if you want, or we host it in cloud for you. And as I say, the core really is the Essential meta model in the tool, and then you've got all the views. So as I mentioned, we've got over 130 out of the box views that you can use. You can create your own views, you can tweak our views. It's very open. In terms of, obviously, once you've captured the data in the meta model, it populates the views, and we see everyone using those views. So again, there'll be views that are focused at or dedicated to your CXOs and your business leaders. There'll be some that are more relevant for your solution architects and your technical architects, your application architects. But you can, create portals and give people access to different things so they can just see the information that's useful to them. They don't have to see everything. So we see everybody using the tool, if you like, in terms of understanding their views and helping make those decisions. And then around the bottom here, you've got the ways of getting data in. So we've got over here sort of the back end, which we would see the architecture team using. You possibly do need a bit of architecture knowledge to use that if you like, you know, have some modelling knowledge and some architecture knowledge. We've got the everyone's essential editors over here, which I've mentioned a few times, but they're important. They would allow your business users to maintain the information as well. And then down the bottom here, we've got more the bulk ways of getting data in. So you can import via the import utility. We have an essential import utility that allows you to import Excel, XML, CSV. So again, if you're starting out, if you've got information in spreadsheets, you can pull that directly into the tool. And we also, as I said, have a series of APIs which allow you to integrate with other tools. So you can pull things in from as I mentioned, CMDBs, BPMN tools, things like that. You can push the data out to other drawing tools if you want to. So if you use Power BI or Tableau or any of those tools, you can pull the data out of Essential to do, you know, that different kind of analysis, that more quantitative analysis, if you like. So that's really how that's sort of the ecosystem, if you like. That's how we think of Essential. And just before I go on to the to sort of think about APM as well, just a little slide in terms of where Essential fits. So Essential is not a drawing tool. Okay, so that's not what we are. It's an enterprise architecture management tool. So in terms of support, we support the CIOs and CXOs, your management teams, in understanding opportunities, strategy, how the estate is going to manage the strategy, that sort of thing. So questions such as, you know, what's my risk? What's the regulatory impact of his? Where am I spending my money? What happens if we acquire this organisation? How are we going to bring that together? Oh, sorry. Obviously, we support the enterprise architects. So again, defining your strategic architectures, again, identifying obviously your opportunities and risks, looking at your roadmaps and your options, ensuring you're aligned to your business, and answer questions like, where can I be more efficient? Where have I got duplication and overlap? Is our data consistent? You know, are we secure? Those sorts of questions. And then in terms of solution architects, we support them in terms of the outputs of projects, understanding the reference architectures, understanding the strategic technologies you can use, understanding impact. So if I'm going to change this application, what's the impact on everything else? If this technology is at end of life, what's the impact on the business? So, you know, those sorts of questions from a solution architecture perspective. So, you know, where can I get my data from? What technologies am I allowed to use? What's my reference architecture for this, you know, for this application? What should I use? So it gives that information, but it isn't a drawing tool as such. It is, as I say, an enterprise architecture management tool. Okay, so that's a bit about sort of generally what Essential is. To think about APM specifically, which we're focused on here. So really, I guess with Essential APM, we're removing the guesswork from managing your application portfolio. So obviously, complexity in your organization is created when you've got, you know, lots of applications, and you know, when you've got a very complex organization, it creates cost, and it means you can't be so agile. So really what this is about is understanding your estate, understanding the impacts, making sure you've got as few applications as possible doing the same thing. You haven't got that layer of duplication, which, you know, adds a lot of cost, as I say, and means you can't be very agile if you've got to change lots of applications when you're doing your projects. So to be successful, you need a lot of information. And when I say a lot of information, depending, you know, you can structure that depending on what you're looking at. You don't have to capture everything all at once. You can start small, you can start in one area, you can start high level and drill down where you need to. So, you know, you can start bottom up or you can go top down. There's lots of different ways you can start with Essential, but you do need information from lots of different perspectives. And we'll look at that information that you need to sort of make decisions. But once you've got that in there, Essential allows you to make those decisions. And when we look at the views, you'll see that they're sort of giving you the information you need to decide maybe, you know, where you've got duplications, which applications to keep, those sorts of things. And really gives you confidence that your target efficiencies will be met. You know, you want your application estate to enable you to meet your digital needs, to identify where you've got opportunities, to remove unnecessary spend, all those things, and Essential will be able to do that. So I just wanted a quick word on the meta model. So I did mention earlier that the Essential meta model is quite is quite deep. You can go quite deep with it. It's not a simplistic meta model. And just to illustrate this, I guess, we find sometimes that people are looking at maybe capturing things in a relatively simplistic way. So we often get asked, I just want to map my applications to my capabilities. I don't want to understand anything in between, like the processes or the functionality the application's offering, or even the teams that are performing the processes. I just want to map my applications to my capabilities. And that's fine, and that gives you a view. But sometimes it's a little bit, it doesn't sort of, I guess, represent the real world and actually what's going on in your organisation. So if we kind of look at this example here, again, I've put up, it's just an example, but I've put up a sort of a capability here. You've got HR management, you've got a number of capabilities underneath that, and then you've mapped the applications that are supporting it. And if you were looking, if you were using, as an example, Oracle HR and a local application that one or two of your organisations have implemented, you could look at that and you can say, we want to move to Workday. And actually, I can see that Workday can support all of these capabilities, all of the areas that I'm currently supporting in terms of my HR and I'm using in terms of my current applications. Workday can do that. Therefore, I can replace Workday. I can replace my local app and Oracle HR with Workday. OK, that's quite a simplistic view of it. If we break it down a bit further and just now look at sort of the recruitment option, OK, we've got that capability there that we saw. I've got some processes underneath there. So I'm going to define my employee brand. That's important to me in terms of getting the right people on board. I'm going to engage some recruitment partners to enable me to do my recruitment, identify where I've got gaps, manage onboarding. OK, what we do is define in terms of your applications the functionality that they offer. OK, and we call them application services in our meta model, but it's quite important in breaking down the applications and saying, what do these applications do for me? You know, and also from your process, what do I need applications to do to support my processes? OK, and that's where you get this level of detail here. So we need applications that do these things. They need to understand and manage the employee brand. They need to manage recruitment partnerships. They need to manage skill gap analysis, and they need to manage employee onboarding. And if I break that down a bit further, I can say, well, actually, this is the bit that I'm using my local app for. OK, so although it's linked straight to recruitment, I can understand now the process that I'm supporting and the bit of the application I'm using to do that. OK, and actually I could potentially say I'm not using Oracle HR for that, and potentially Workday. I've not bought that in my pack from Workday. So actually, if I just look at my previous view and I go and, you know, say, right, I've got Workday now, we're getting rid of those two, I'd have a gap there because that's not something that I've covered. So when we talk about our meta model and we talk about breaking your applications down into the application services or the business functionality that they're offering to the business, it's important from that point of view. So you can really understand what your application is doing, and you can really look at, what can I replace, and potentially pick up other things that you didn't know you could replace, or a gap you didn't know. Maybe Workday provides that as well, and you can just say, oh, I get that module as well, and then I can get rid of it. So it gives you again that level of detail that allows you to make those decisions. OK, so what I'm going to do now is just give you a demo. So hopefully now you should be able to see my, sorry, I've just lost my Teams thing. Sorry, OK. So hopefully now you should be able to see my my screen with the essential cloud on it. Okay, I don't know if I can just get a thumbs up. Sorry, I've lost my little person. Can you see the essential cloud demo? Yeah, good. OK, brilliant. So when you log into Essential Cloud, what you get is your you get 3 repositories and you get 3 viewers. OK, so you've got your production repository, you've got a couple of other sandbox or pre-production that you can have a play around with if you want to create a new view or do a new sort of big import from another tool for the first time or something. You can test it out there. And you've got 3 viewers as well. So I'm just going to go in and look at the viewer. When you go into the Essential Viewer, we'll look at the data capture afterwards. When you go into the Essential Viewer, you can set this portal up to look like your organisation. OK, so it can have your brand, it can have your colour, it can look like your intranet. So again, if you're external and you send someone a link, you don't necessarily even need to know you're in Essential. You just know that you've got getting information about your organisation. First of all, I'm going to go and look at the application portfolio management area. We have a specific area where we're sort of looking at portfolio management, if you like. So I'm going to just go into a couple of views to sort of look at the information that we have. So this is again looking at mapping your applications to your business capability. So I've got my business capability model here. You can pick the level you show it to. We've done some here to 2 levels and some to 3 levels. You can decide. This is just an illustration, but you can overlay different things on your capabilities. So I could look at my differentiation level. Which of my capabilities differentiate me from my competitors? Which are commodity? And that really should dictate your application support. If it's a commodity, you should have a packaged app. You know, it does the job. You've got one, it does it as cheaply as possible, I guess, really, for you know, doing it well. If you're a differentiating capability, you probably want to do something different from your competitors. So you might be, you know, looking at getting something different in there. You can overlay your operating model, where are you global, regional, local, and you can overlay your strategic goals and objectives. So I can see my strategic goals and objectives here, and they're mapped to my capabilities. So if I come down and look at my pricing strategy capability here, I can get more information about the goals and objectives it's supporting, and I can get more information about the applications that are supporting that particular capability. So I can see here now I've got 8 applications that support that capability. I can see this is red because this is a differentiating capability and this is a packaged app. So I don't necessarily want all packaged apps there, because that's going to sort of force me down a same as everyone else is doing route. I could choose to sort of expand that that information and look at more information about a particular application. So if I look at Black Curve here, I can see that it provides 6 services. So these are those areas of business functionality that this application provides. I can see it's being used by 2 different organisations. I can see there's one strategic plan that's going to impact it, and there's one project that's going to impact it as well. I could choose to look at a matrix. So what this is showing me is the areas of functionality that an application offers and what we're using. So I can see here, for example, that Voltex offers 12 application services, so 12 areas of functionality, but we're only using 5. So potentially we could expand the use of that application and maybe replace some other applications with it at no additional cost. So it allows you to look at those sorts of things. And then I can look at cost. So again, within this capability, these are the applications I'm using. These are how much they cost. This is the breakdown of the cost. And again, this is you capture your costs in the tool. These are just exemplars in our demo. You capture whatever costs you capture, and the view just pick those up. So that's the sort of information you can get. You can then go through potentially and you can look at a rationalization analysis view. So if I've looked at that and I thought, you know, there's a lot of duplication there and overlap between what everything is doing, I can click and I can look at a rationalization analysis view, and this will take me into another view, and it's captured those applications in my basket. So again, if I look at Black Curve here, I can see that Black Curve is offering these 6 areas of these 6 application services, these 6 areas of functionality. And I can say, what's the overlap with other applications in my organisation? Where have I got applications doing the same thing? And I can see here that these 2 do exactly the same thing. There's 100% match. I had a query the other day from actually an organisation said surely that should be red if there's a 100% match, and these should be green. These should be green because they don't match. But we put that as green because it means that there's a high likelihood that you could rationalise. You could get rid of those applications. You could replace them with this application because they're doing exactly the same thing. And we can also see here the life cycle. So this is off strategy and this is in sunset, but this is the cost of them. So again, you can start to look at it from that information. You can do things like, you know, filter by code base or strategic life cycle or cost or that sort of thing as well. This view is also good. You can look at it from another perspective. So I could look at it from a service perspective. So I could say, well, if I'm buying a new application, maybe I'm buying, I don't know, Workday or some other application that's going to do my pricing analysis. I can say, right, I'm getting this new application and it's going to provide me with all these services or these areas of functionality. What could I replace? Okay, so again, it's allowing you to pick up that sort of shadow IT that people might have bought in. That they've, you know, picked up themselves, or maybe lots of organisations have done their own IT and they've bought applications, or maybe there's lots of spreadsheets out there that people are using to fill some gaps. So you can look at those and you can say, right, I'm now getting this. What potentially could I replace? Okay, so it allows you to look at those sorts of things. We also, obviously, that's looking at it sort of from a business capability perspective. You can also look at it from just the application perspective. So this would be your application reference model. These are your application capabilities and your application services. So again, if I look down here at my energy price analysis, I can see these are the applications I've got providing that service. I can also see the standards, so you can set standards for different areas of your organisation. You can do that, again, it's depending how granular you want to do. You could do it by region, you can do it by organisation, you can do it by process. So here what I'm saying is if I'm in the data processing team, I should use this application to do this, to provide this functionality. If I'm within marketing, I should use that one. So that's again up to you how sort of differentiating you want to be of that, but you can set your standards and you can also see your life cycle status. And you can drill down into more detail from all of these. So this is a good view to show you where you've got issues, and then you can drill down and provide more information, if you like, about those before going on. I won't do that today in the interest of time. Obviously, cost is an area you want to look at when you're looking at, managing your portfolio. So again, you can look at the cost. So this is looking at the cost of your IT estate. You can change the dates. You can look at it by a particular organisation. You can look at it by a particular cost. But what it's showing you is the top 10 most expensive applications. So which of your applications cost the most? If they're providing the most value, then that's fine. But if they're not, then you might want to question why they're there. You can look at the cost by type of cost. So we can see where most of the spend is going. So here, most of our spend goes on support cost. You can look by the type of application. So again, we spend most of our application on packaged apps. And you can look by delivery model, so where your applications are hosted. So again, most of our cost here is going on public cloud. So again, depending on what your strategies are, you may want to tweak and change some of these. And then you've got your costs mapped to your business capabilities. So the darker the colour, the more expensive the cost against that capability is. So again, we can look here and we can see the applications that make up that cost. And then underneath here, we've got obviously a list of the applications. So you can understand the cost against your organisation and your capabilities. You can also, for example, look at your business fit. So you can understand sort of how well your applications meet your business needs. And again, this is broken down into areas that are important to you. So they're not, again, they're not baked into the tool, and it's not just a one cost. So you define what's important to you. So we've put in here that from a business perspective, it's got to be usable, it's got to be agile. We need to add new products quickly. It's got to have functional completeness. It's got to, have regulatory compliance, and it must be secure. That's what's important to the business here, and then we can score the applications against that for each of those things and get one overall score. So again, important if you're looking at rationalization that you understand the impact of what your business think of it, I guess. You don't want to be getting rid of the application that they love and replacing it with one that they everyone hates and thinks is unusable. And obviously then you can look at it by your technical health analysis as well. So again, you define what's important to you from a technical perspective, and then you can score it against that and get an overall view of technically how well does it meet our needs. Obviously, we have things like impact analysis views. We have our application information dependency. So you want to understand where data is coming from and going to. So again, if I look at add Excel here, an application, I can see it's getting data from these three applications. It's sending it to these three information, sorry. I can choose to model to this level. I could choose to model to, there isn't any information in there, but I could choose to model to the type of information and the frequency and how it gets there, or I could go right down into the detail of information and see what else is using that feed, where it comes from. So again, that's looking at impact analysis. You can also do things like look at applications by the host country. So if you want to look at it for a particular country, this is saying, okay, I'm looking now at all the applications that are hosted in the US. And these are all the applications here. So this is the application, these are the sites and the locations of the organizations that use them, and this is where they're hosted. And then obviously you can go down and you could look at that particular server or cloud deployment and say, well, what else is hosted here. So you're capturing all of that information about your organisation, and we can pull that together then into a view that gives you sort of an overall view. So if I look at again my energy price analysis, I'm going to look at all the applications that provide this functionality, and I can see here that there's a score against them as to how good or bad they are. So if I expand black curve here, I can see all those areas we've looked at. It's giving me some information about that. So actually this supports two different areas of two different capabilities. They're both differentiators. It supports this area of the operating model and a regional and global area. It's a bespoke application. I can look at the business fit and see actually 49% not great. I can look at the technical fit, that's better. cost of the application is relatively high. Actually, all of the functionality it provides is duplicated. It's not that complex, so that means it's easy to get rid of. So that's a factor to take in account as well. You don't want to pick something that's got, you know, hundreds and hundreds of integrations and it's not going to save you much money. You know, initially low-hanging fruit, you might want to avoid that. And you can look at cost to revenue as well. So in terms of the cost against the revenue it's supporting. So you can look at those and you can choose, you know, you could choose here and say, well, if I rationalize sort of those three and, you know, these two are not that good, what's my potential saving? Okay, you know, across my organization, potentially what am I going to save? So that's the type of thing that APM allows you to, that our APM sort of area allows you to do, really to focus on your sort of application estate, how it supports your business, sort of where it's located, those sorts of things, technical health, all that sort of information. That's a really good starting point as well to do your sort of overall enterprise architecture. So if we look at some of the other areas that Essential does as well, obviously we've looked a bit at the business area and the application area. So we'll go and look at the technology area, and then we'll sort of have a quick look at the data and then some of the more strategic areas as well. So again, we can look down at the technical area. We have our technology reference model. As you'll have noticed, we have a business capability or a business reference model or application reference model. This is our technology reference model. So again, you can look at this by organisation or for your whole organisation. And on here, we can look at duplication. So what this is showing me is this area has high duplication. And if I click here, I can see these are the technology types that are within that area. And these are the number of technology products I've got doing the same thing again. Okay, if you want to delve down into more detail, we tend to find technology reference models are really big. So we've sort of broken it down. So if I want to go down into more detail in this area, I can click on the arrow there. And then I can see all of my technology types, if you like, with the products in them. So I can see, obviously, it's red where I've got lots of duplication and green where I haven't. But again, you can go down into the detail of this product. So for this particular technology product, I can see that internally we've retired it, but externally it's general availability. Obviously this isn't real, it's demo data. I can see the components that it implements, I can see the applications that are using it, and therefore I can see the processes that are supported by this technology. Okay, so we're kind of 2 jumps away. So that linkage between your technology and your processes and your capability is really important. So if this is coming up to end of life, or if there's a risk against this, then I can see what the impact on my business is. Okay, we can also look at the sort of security vulnerability. This sometimes takes a little while, but NIST produce sort of intradaily risks, updates on risks against technology products. And what this does is map it to the technology products in your organization. So I can see now that I'm using these technology products and there's some risk been identified by the latest NIST release, if you like, and I can show the impacts as that as well. So if I click here again, I can see, well, these applications are using that technology, therefore these business processes are impacted. Okay, and that's important because obviously depending on what the processes are, is whether you need to immediately identify and fix that risk, or you can sort of maybe take a day or take a breath or something. So you can do that sort of information. Obviously, you can do your technology product lifecycle analysis, so you can look at that by vendor or internal. And again, we're looking at impacts here. So we're saying, for example, if this technology is coming to end of life, I can click here and I can see what applications are impacted. So again, it's really important, the technology is coming up to end of life, but what's the impact of that on your business? So we can see that as well, and we can obviously flick it over to look at our internal lifecycle as well, if we want to do that. We can look at the technologies that an application is using. So again, if I pick Add Excel Manager, Energy Manager here, I can see, it's very large. I can see the technology it's using. So I can see what it needs. It needs a web browser, it needs .NET runtime services twice, it needs a single sign-on solution. And I can see what it's using. So it's using Google Chrome, it's using Okta, it's using Microsoft.NET. And I can see the lifecycle and the standardization level as well. And again, if you see that something's off strategy, you can click there and you can see what other products you've got. So you can look at it from an application to sort of technology perspective. And then we also have the type of view we have is our strategic technology product selector. So this is aimed very much at a solution architect. So if you're a solution architect and you've got a new platform or a new application that you're gonna deploy, you can then look at selecting your technologies that you need to support that application. So I could pick the things that I know I'm going to need to support that application. I can set requirements if I like. So I could say, well, what's important to me actually. Cost is not so important, but lead time, that must be low. I really want it to be proven use, and so on. And then when you get here, you can look at your reference architectures. So if you've captured your reference architectures, you can click on these and you can see how well they meet your needs, and you can decide which ones you're going to use. Pick one or more. And this is where the information in the repository allows your solution architects to look at what they're going to use. So I need this application or this platform needs a proxy server. These are technology products I have in my estate. These two are permitted. These two would need a waiver. So as a solution architect, I can go through and I can pick what I'm going to use. So I can do that for all of my technology types that I need. And then when I've done that, obviously I do it for the other one as well, but I can go through to a page here which shows that actually I'm all on strategy, and potentially you could then print this out, send it off to the governance board if you're a small project, that you don't need to wait till the next meeting or to go to that board, or you could just carry on, because actually I'm all on strategy. I'm using all the permitted or recommended products. I can just go ahead. Obviously, if you pick something where you needed a waiver, then you would have to get approval for that and work out how you're going to go back to it. So Essential allows you to do that sort of thing as well. From an information perspective, we have things like our data object summary. So this would be your data catalogue. If I picked one of those as an example, we can see all the information about customer address. So I know which subject it's in, I know the attributes that make it up. I can see where it's, the tables, the application tables that it's held in, or databases. I can see the stakeholders, so we can set our own stakeholders, whether we have stewards, standard owners, quality managers. I can see the source of truth of an application. I can see the business processes that use this data and whether they're creating, reading, updating or deleting it, and the same for applications. So again, for data, we have that level of information, which allows us to do type of views like the data object provider model. So again, I can see for that particular data object, I can see all the applications it's held in, and I can see where it gets it from and how it gets there. So it allows you to sort of do that kind of traceability across your data. And then just coming up to look at some of the enterprise views, we have the idea of, strategic roadmaps. So we have strategic roadmaps and you have strategic plans and projects. So if I select a roadmap, I can then see my plans. So these are how I'm going to change the organisation over the next period of time, be it 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. These are my plan changes, and I can actually then, if I want to, look at the projects that are going to actually implement those changes as well. So if I look at one of these, I can go into my maintenance outsourcing strategic plan. I can see how this is going to impact my estate. So I can see the timeline and I can see the changes it's making. So in terms of my business area, it's going to outsource these processes in this organisation. In terms of my applications, it's going to decommission these applications and it's going to introduce a new service. So this plan is only impacting business and application. You could obviously impact data and technical areas, technology areas as well. I can see dependencies between plans, so it's dependent on this plan. I can see why we're doing it, so what strategic goals and objectives are being supported by this plan, and then I can see the delivery projects. And we can see that some of these dates have changed, which is why these are in red, because obviously there's an impact there. You can then look at this from a different perspective. So the type of thing we can do with the strategic plans is look at what we call roadmap enablement. So quite a lot of our views have the roadmap enablement switched on, which allows you to roll the clock forward and look at your organisation at a future point in time and see, well, what's it going to look like when I've implemented my plans. So this view, just as a summary, gives you kind of a high-level summary of what I've talked through in more detail. It's kind of aimed at your CIOs or your CXOs. So you can look at it for an organisation. You can see your geographic scope. You can see duplication across your business capabilities. You can look at a high level, your application sort of code base and delivery model, and your duplication across your application estate, and then duplication and legacy risk across your technology estate. So it's kind of a high level view. But what we've also got here is this roadmap enablement. So if you haven't captured strategic plans, that won't appear. If you have captured them, you can roll the clock forward. So if you can either pick a point in time, or you can press the play button. And if you look at the colours here, when I press play, you'll see that they change as the clock goes forward. So some of them are going green as we go forward. So whatever I've planned, this is what my organisation is going to look like at the end of that period, if you like. And you can then go and you can look at what's changed. You could say, well, what's made up that change then? And actually, well, it's because I've decommissioned or removed or enhanced, or these are the changes I've made to my estate. Therefore, it looks different now. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an overview of what Essential does, the types of things we can do. Again, you wouldn't do all of that at once. We would, start small, focus in an area, make sure you've got the data, you've got a way of keeping it maintained, and then move on to the next area. So I just wanted now to look at the way of sort of how we look at maintaining that data. Okay, so these are the editors that I spoke about that we would see sort of your organisation using. So you can either select from here, or you can select from within a view. So I've just come in here, which gives you a catalogue of applications to pick from in the application editor. But you could go into, when you're in looking at an application, you can go directly to the editor from there as well. So if I'm an application owner, I can see, I can see all of this information here, and I can maintain it. So I've got these different tabs. So I've got my general tab here, so I can see my name, description, the purpose of my apps. I can see the code base and the delivery model. If I want to update this, if I think it's wrong, if I think that's not a customized package, that was a bespoke application we built, I just click and it's changed. If I think that's not public cloud, it's private cloud, click and it's changed. We've got our dates for our life cycle here. So again, if I think, oh, that's wrong, we're not retiring that till 2024, I've updated it. It shows in blue where you are at the moment, if you like. So we're in prototype at the moment, not moving to production till November. I can see here the application services that this the areas of functionality that this application is offering, and the editors all work the same. So if I want to update that, if I think that's wrong or it offers something else, I can click update. I've got the list of things it does here on the right hand side, and I've got all of my application services here. So if I think it doesn't do company analysis, that's wrong, I just click there and it'll remove it. It no longer does that. I've updated it, and I could add something else in if I was going to say it did auditing. Then I can add that in, and you'll see when you come back here, that's updated there. We've got auditing there as well. We can look at the organisations that are using this application, and we can add those, and we can look at the organisations here as well. So that's sort of the general. We could look at integrations. You can maintain your integrations. So again, we saw for this applications getting data from 3 and sending it to 3. If I decide that's wrong, I could remove one. I can search across my applications. Obviously, I can type as well, and I can drag another one in. So now I've corrected that. In terms of linking your applications to the business, we do this in this grid format. So what this is saying is that these organisations use this application when they perform these processes. So I can see that engineering use this application when they're performing the extend storage process. And I can see they use 3 areas of functionality. These are the services they're using. So again, I could choose to update that. If I don't know, I don't have to have those services. I can just say they use this application. So if you don't have services, you can still use Essential, you can still get benefit, but it provides that extra level of detail to give you that additional decision support that you can do. So again, I could update that, and that will update the areas that it uses there as well. I can map to my technology, so I could look at my technology area here. I can update what it's using there, or I could drag another one on. And what this is going to say is, well, what technology do you need? Let's have a look at this one potentially, and then it will show me any products I've got. I haven't got any in there, but it will show me the products I've got that I could use there. Or I could choose to update this one. So I can say that I've said I'm using Google Chrome, but actually maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm using Internet Explorer, even though it's not standard, and that will update that information. as we saw there. You can do that for all your different environments if you choose to, and then you can capture your costs. So again, we can see our costs here, and we can choose to update them or to add new costs. And again, these types of costs are ones you enter. So that would be how sort of somebody with a knowledge of an application would maintain their data about that application. So it's not about really, I don't think I needed to have any modelling knowledge or any particular knowledge of essential to do that. I just need to understand my application. Okay, and they work the same really across all of these. If I looked quickly at the business process editor, I can see the same thing. I can select a business process, and then I can see all of the details about the processing, about that process. So the general details, what capabilities it's supporting, roles required to enable this process, enable the process, what functionality it requires from application. So at this stage, we're not saying what the application is, we're just saying for this process, I need applications to do, in this case, office productivity. Again, you can set standards there, and you can define which organisations perform the process. And then you'll recognise the application support is just kind of the other way around. These organisations use these applications when they perform this process. So once you've got sort of the hang of it, you can use them. We have some kind of different styles. So the business capability one is more of a tree because it suits that style more. So I can see here I've got my business capability model, and I can drag things about and move them around. So if I decided for whatever reason I wanted to move, I don't know, payroll processing up into HR, I could do that if I wanted to. And then I've put that up there. So I've moved that into into this capability area. I could, for example, look for orphans. So these are capabilities that I've added, but they've not been put into my model, if you like. They haven't got a parent. They're not part of that model. I can detach things. I can update things. And obviously we've got, all the way through for your technology products and your reference models. You can enter your technology vendor life cycles here if you choose to. So as an example, if you had Microsoft, you can see all of the products you've got here, and you could add the lifecycle dates in here, or you can link with another tool. If you have a license to something like Technopedia, you could bring those in directly. So again, that's, there's kind of options there depending on what you want to do. So again, we've got editors across business, information, obviously technology, supplier and contracts. So we have all the information about supplier and contracts in here. So, when things are coming to end of life, projects, linking to your strategy and business scenario analysis. So there's a lot you can do with Essential as well. So I did just have a few more slides that I was going to run through just before I finish. Okay, so in terms of our approach to success, I think I've mentioned this, but in terms of our approach to success, we would recommend that you focus on an area that's going to give you business value. Keep it small and focused, and you will be able to get benefit within 4 to 12 weeks and show value. So pick an area, whether it's business to applications or application to technology or APM, but something small. Don't just try and do everything all at once, because then it becomes a bit unmanageable. You do want to make sure you keep on top of that delivery. You've got the people who are going to maintain the data know that they're responsible to do it, and they have a way to do that. We have a launchpad for initial load, so we have a free launchpad that we give away that allows you to bring in a foundation of your architecture across business application, information and technology. If you've got information already in spreadsheets, it's a really easy way to put it in there, bring it in, and then bang, you're up and running really quickly. In terms of our support, we support obviously standard kind of roles that you have. In terms of CIOs, enterprise architects, down to merged roles in smaller organisations where there isn't a particular team, and also sort of the standard, if you like, enterprise architecture disciplines. So obviously application portfolio management, but I won't read them out to you. You can see them there. But the general things that you would expect an enterprise architecture tool to do. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of an overview around Essential and what it does. As I say, it is quite broad. It supports most organisations. So yeah, it's a low-cost tool. So I think that's me. Hopefully that's time-wise, that's okay. So I'm just wondering if there's any questions. I need to try and find my Teams thing to see if there are any questions. Okay, it's just coming up. Okay, so a question there, Sparks is referred to as a drawing tool. What's the overlapping functionality? So I suppose what Essential doesn't do really is draw those solution architecture diagrams. So where you've got, if you like, a solution architect just wants to pick things and put them on a Visio chart or a Sparks or that sort of thing, and it might be different every time. It might not be a standard thing. So we tend to find when we go into organisations that sometimes you might want to put a process and a technology and application on there. Other time you might want the information. Essential doesn't really do that very well. It doesn't allow you to do those free format drawings, and it doesn't save the layout of the drawings. So what you've seen, Essential is a data-driven tool. So you capture the data and the views are presented to you in that format, if you like. It doesn't save the layout. So that's, that's what Essential does. So you can use it to provide you with the standards, to provide you with the reference architectures, what you should be using to understand where you've got overlap and that, but it doesn't allow you to do that drawing tool, if you like. But we can link with tools that do. So again, via the APIs, we can link with tools that do that drawing, to either bring them in. Again, I would say the thing around that is if you've used them in a very standard format, we can bring the information into Essential. If you haven't, then it's more tricky. So again, if you wanted to link and you say, well, this shape is always an application, that shape's always a process, then we can bring that in. If it varies on depending who's using it, then that's not so good, because it's very difficult. So hopefully that answers the question. Okay, so is it true that much of the data in the product is sourced externally or managed by clients? Is it possible to assess the quality of metadata with data in the CMDB is poorly maintained, impacting the results of the analysis? Okay, so yes, we can measure the quality of the data. If I just go to here again, down the bottom, we've got some areas that allow you to look at the quality of your data and see where it's complete. So we've got a couple of things that help. So this is a sort of a duplication dashboard, so you can see where you've got potential duplication. So this is doing kind of fuzzy matching and allowing you to see where you've got potential duplication. You can change the sensitivity. So if I reduce that to 90%, you should get more fuzzy matching, I guess. So if I looked, for example, at my process here, oh, I can't get that to go into there. Okay, if I looked at that process, I can see that there's a potential. We've got plan schedule and plan schedules. So it's highlighting that that's probably a duplication, which it probably is. So you can look at that sort of thing, and you can also look at completeness. So if I went to the, sorry, let me go back. There's a repository completeness check. So what this is showing you is, just pick a class. Okay, if I look at business process, it's going to show me all of the slots I have, so all of the areas of data that I could capture and how complete they are. So again, we wouldn't necessarily expect you to complete everything, but obviously if you've got an area that you think is important and should be completed, and it's only 11% completed, that's a gap, and you may want to get that to get that sorted out. So you can look at sort of whether how important the data, sorry, how the quality of the data and how complete it is. In terms of Archimate, yes, we can. Yes, it does support the Archimate model, and we can map to Archimate. So yeah. Okay, I think that's me.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for the presentation. In case there are any additional questions, or in case someone wants to know more about Essential, they can of course contact you. They can contact us. Our email address is also in the movie we will show every 10 minutes after the presentations. So please let us know if there are any more questions, and we will make sure you will get in touch with Sarah. We now again have a short break, and we will continue at 2 o'clock with the next presentation. And the next presentation is from Software AG. So hopefully we see you at 2 o'clock.